I first heard about LearnPath at last year's Softlink conference in Brisbane, and my interest sparked a little bit with that, and wondered how that could work practically in the schools, and there were some great examples from people I chatted with there. One of the first tasks I did was a preliminary Year 11 Community and Family Studies group that were doing research skills, and they had to do a question called the media has a negative impact on a teenage girl's perception of body image, which was quite a difficult task, and they had to get some research papers and answer that question. So the first thing we did was I created a LearnPath guide on the whole unit that we were doing, and within that LearnPath guide we looked at the idea of Boolean searching, and I put some terms up and explained to the children how Boolean searching works. We also then looked at the information process and the way that it can be sometimes ambiguous and that you don't always get an answer at the end of that lesson, that it's a time process. And then we looked at some databases from the State Library, and we found a couple in Australia, New Zealand points of view reference, and also in ProQuest. So I put this all on the LearnPath guide. We're also a ClickView school, so I put a number of ClickView videos in there as well. And we also found a few YouTube clicks on the idea of how the media can affect body image for teenage girls. And that turned out to be a really successful double period lesson, and it gave the students, the importance of the LearnPath guide was it gave the students a place to go back to, because there was so much information coming their way in that double period that they simply couldn't take it in. But the students just kept coming back to that guide to be able to look at keyword searches, which databases was I at, how do I do Boolean searching. So that was a real positive for that class. So that particular instance of the LearnPath guide was wonderful. All Year 10 6 science classes had to do a research task on chemical, and they were allocated a chemical, and they had to respond to the question, should the use of a particular chemical in the household be discontinued? And if you're a non-science Year 10 student, that can be very difficult. So again, I talked with the science coordinator, and we got her class to get State Library cards, and we went down that database line again. But the interesting thing about collaborating was, after doing the lesson with the students, she went back to class and she told her other colleagues in the science department, and then by the end of the day and by the end of the next day, I had all this other 5 teachers talking with me about when can they book their class in, when can you do that presentation that you did with the science coordinator. So I ended up doing that presentation another 5 times with the whole of Year 10, and what really came out of it, we had a LearnPath guide on referencing, and that was something that they could really get their hands on and go back to again to be able to get that aspect right. So that was a really positive, collaborative and collegial process. I think the ability to be able to go back to somewhere that's, you know where it is, and the information will still be there, you can bookmark it, and you can do either a simplistic step-by-step process, or you can make it a little bit more detailed, whatever the scenario requires. I like the way that LearnPath allows you to link other sources on a particular assessment task. You're not just in one particular source, you can bring together a number of sources. It's also been really empowering for my library staff. This has been a real positive with LearnPath. The fact that once they know how to curate a LearnPath guide and put things into whatever the task might be into it, their relationships with other staff members, they're feeling positive about themselves and their role in the school has been a wonderful element of LearnPath in my book. All our reading guides, we put those, our reading list, we put those in a LearnPath guide, and one of the 7 to 10 statements is that the ability to engage in wide reading. So a lot of the Year 7 to 10 English teachers, they'll bring their class to our library once a fortnight, but before they come, they've already looked at the LearnPath guide, they've looked at the type of novel they'd like to read. We've genreified our library, so it gives us an opportunity, students an opportunity to go to a particular genre or try a new genre, and all those are in our LearnPath guide. So that's been a wonderful collaborative effort on staff and students at the school, and our teachers, of course. We do. It's been wonderful. I have a book club at our library, and we were doing To Kill a Mockingbird, and a lot of the students in my book club are Year 8 and 9, and the language can be quite difficult to kill a mockingbird at times. So I found that LearnPath had put their own guide on the community portal, and or Content Hub, sorry. And the students then went and I showed the students where that was. So we had a number of students who were finding it difficult and were able to use the links that were on there to get further information, to look at Harper Lee as an author, that had a little clip link to the Gregory Peck black and white film, which was great. We had a look at that in book club, that little clip. And also a study guide, so students who were struggling with getting around the language were able to access the SparkNotes study guide and use that. So that was just a nice little example of something I didn't have to do, but I just showed them where it was, and it allowed students to be able to access that novel in a much deeper and more meaningful way.